Council Road. Good morning. Today we are continuing our study through the entire book of the Bible with a study over the entire book of Micah, chapters 1 through 7. And this book, written by the prophet Micah, dealing with more problems against Israel and the people of God. And we see God having a case against the people of Israel. And as fittingly as it is in our current climate, the issue in this book is the issue of injustice. We see that in chapter 2. Verses 1 and 2, it says, "Woe to those who dream up wickedness and prepare evil plans on their beds. At morning light they accomplish it, because the power is in their hands. They covet fields and seize them. They also take houses. They deprive a man of his home, a person of his inheritance." Continuing chapter 2, verses 8 and 9, "But recently my people have risen up like an enemy. You strip off the splendid robe from those who are passing through confidently, like those returning from war. You force the women of my people out of their comfortable homes, and you take my blessing from their children forever." And it's not just the people in general who are failing when it comes to the issue of justice. In chapter 3, verses 9 and 10, it says, "Listen to this, leaders of the house of Jacob, you rulers of the house of Israel, who abhor justice and pervert everything that is right, who build Zion with bloodshed and Jerusalem with injustice." So this was a big issue for the entire body of people, not just the individuals or the leaders, but everyone collectively. And we see this kind of come to a head in chapter 6, which is where I want to focus here for the next minute or two. We see kind of a courtroom scene. God is laying out his case against the people of Israel. He reminds them of what he has done for them in verses 4 and 5, mentioning how he has redeemed them and brought them out of the land of Egypt, a theme that we see throughout the Old Testament, of God constantly reminding his people of what he has done for them. And then verses 6 and 7 is the response of the people, essentially asking, what do we do? What should we bring before the Lord? They go from burnt offerings all the way down to child sacrifice. So, what can we do to make this right? What can we do to live rightly before you? And of course, verse 8, a very famous verse in Scripture, lays it out for them. It says, "Mankind, he has told each of you what is good and what it is the Lord requires of you, to act justly, to love faithfulness, and to walk humbly with your God." So the answer that Israel and the people of God are seeking has always been in front of them: to act justly, to seek justice, to seek the justice of those around them, to do right by everyone, to love faithfulness. And that is including the ability to love being faithful in your own life, not just to uphold it in the lives of other people, and to walk humbly with your God. And it's interesting that it mentions to walk humbly, because when we think of walking with God, we think that automatically involves humility, but that's not necessarily the case. It's very easy for us to get into a mindset where we walk arrogantly with God, where we walk fearfully with God. There are lots of different ways that we can walk with God. Not all of them are correct. So the emphasis on walking in humility with God is laid out here. But I think the biggest thing that we need to remember is the answer to our question of how do we live rightly is always right here in front of us in Scripture. Just as it was for the people of God and the people of Israel here, so it is for us today as well. And I hope that we can take that to heart and act justly, love faithfulness, and walk humbly with God. Have a great day.